over the break, I've been really, really busy trying to continue my business going, which has been somewhat successful. I have a new demo reel commission that I have to do, which I think is going to start up again tomorrow. Zamoody, I still owe you a demo reel, my friend.
Let me get better first, and then we'll talk.
Yes, of course. I mean, I could just rewrite all your scripts to people who are ill. Maybe just do like a sickness reel. Is that a thing? This joke is clearly falling flat on its face, so I'm going to move on.
And I will say this again. If that joke hit you, please put it in the comments because we'd love to know who you are.
Greetings, fellow travellers, and welcome to Cold Read, the Voice Actors Podcast, Season 6. 6 seasons! Good lords, we've done 6 seasons of this. I guess it goes to show that us voice actors really can talk for hours. I calculated it, guys. If you play all of our episodes back to back, it would take you 119 hours, 17 minutes, and 25 seconds to watch them all. That's back to back with no breaks. That's almost 5 days of content. And that's us trying to keep it to 1 hour for each episode. It really got me thinking about our journey and everything that got us here today. For our new listeners, let me set the scene. I met my fellow co-hosts in April of 2021, where, as the fates would have it, Zamoody and I were cast in the same project. I was new to Casting Call Club at the time, and I wanted to spread some light along my journey. So, I left Zamoody a well-deserved positive review on his work. Next thing I knew, Zamoody was reaching out to me asking if I would be interested in being part of this podcast. Which, then, was when I met Eldurrino. In that moment, I felt a small tug, and I've touched on this before in the past. I felt a small tug, as if I was being told, yes, do it. Do that thing. Do the thing. Yes. I had no experience with streams. I'd never done a podcast before, and yet the opportunity still presented itself to me. And I felt I had to take it. Have you ever had that? That moment where you find yourself at a crossroads, or at the edge of a cliff, or a beach at the edge of the water looking out, and you feel frozen in time. All moments of choice. Looking back on this year so far, I am reminded of those moments. In January, I had something happen to me that was not my choice. But I had a choice. To wallow in what had happened, which, to be fair, I did for a few months, or to do something about it. So I chose to do something about it. And it backfired. Horribly. I had another choice. Give up or keep pushing forward. I chose to push forward. Again, and again, and again. It wasn't that I chose to rise up against all odds like the heroes in the films and whatnot. I simply chose that I would not let it break me permanently. In fact, it felt a little like that small tug of fate again. But this time, pulling me up, holding me firmly just above the water, like urging me to find the strength I needed to get through. Even with my friends, this summer, myself, Grim, and Fire went to something called Tankfest. As the name implies, it is where tanks ranging from literally World War I tanks right up to present day come out into an arena and can display just what they can do. While we were there, Grim and Fire found something. A very rare find for sale. A life-sized model of a Panzerschreck. Both of them stood there looking at it for like a good 3 minutes, stuck in the, should we really? Ooh. When I then came up behind them and said verbatim, okay, people, I'm going to be the voice of reason here. And I clapped them both on the backs and said, buy it. And that was all they needed. What I'm getting at with all these stories is that as much as you try to plan your future, you can't predict the whole journey. No matter how hard you try, there will always be unexpected things, both good and bad. But with each new thing, like each new experience, each fall, each opportunity, you have a choice. One only you can make. So let yourself choose. Don't be afraid of choice. Choose to choose. Because who knows where your choices will take you? Mine took me here, and I can't wait to see where my choices will lead me. I'm going to end this with one of my favourite quotes, and I have no idea if this actually fits perfectly with what I'm saying, but it felt right for now, so I'm choosing to put it at the end here. And if you know where it's from, you are 100% my kind of people. We stand upon the precipice of change. The world fears the inevitable plummet into the abyss. Watch for that moment, and when it comes, do not hesitate to leap! For it is only when you fall that you learn whether you can fly.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 6 of Cold Read the Podcast.
Woohoo!
Intro. Yeah, woohoo. Intro is from Renara. Thank you, Renara, for that wonderful, wonderful intro. And
you are most welcome indeed.
Gosh, where do we start? Well, it's apologies for not being around last week. Unfortunately, we'll talk about, I'm sure, things that happen, technical and personal issues as always. So what can we do? What can we say? But we strive forward and we continue and we do our best. We are not at our new home, which is going to be YouTube at Cold Read the Podcast. We're at a temporary home, which is at Zamoody at YouTube. And this is due to apparently there's a 24-hour delay when you first try to do your first stream on a channel. That was unexpected by all of us.
So weird.
I know.
Weird. What are they trying to accomplish with that?
I don't know. I don't get it.
And it is what it is. So this is kind of our trial run at the start of season 6, and thank you, Kayleigh, for being our guest today and joining us. But before we get into your story and everything else, I do want to hear how everybody's doing. I feel like I heard a lot from Renara, but still, I want to check in and see how you're doing, Renara.
I'm doing okay. I'm actually doing all right. I'm smiling. I am still. I'm here basically. I have been busy as all hell. I have gone through ups and downs, and currently at a nice net neutral. I had a discussion with everyone before we went live, but it is a nice sort of net neutral with the sort of stressy part in the background. So we're just going to see how that goes for now, and hopefully I'll have some more information on that within the coming weeks. However, I am currently now really hammering out Skywind, because now we have hard deadlines, guys. For anyone who's been waiting on any information about that, we actually, all us voice actors now have some quite hard deadlines. We're getting there, guys. It's sort of the final push. There's still things being written and things like that, but for all of us existing VAs, it's now coming down to the bit of get your stuff in, guys. We need it in now. So that can only mean good things. That can only mean positive things. I actually had a private audition come through to me over the break, which I've been asking for some feedback on on my audition. I haven't sent it in yet because unfortunately I ended up with a pretty stupid chest infection, but we aren't going to go into that. I'm okay now-ish. I'm on the very, very last end of that. So I'd like to hopefully, I put it in the Cold Read Discord if anyone wants to go check that out.
Yes.
But hopefully I'll get that sent in and stuff. But yeah, no, it's a good start. I'm going to say we're a good start for season 6, at least for me. So I'm going to leave it at that and go, yes, okay. Let's keep this positive train going, hopefully.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
There you go.
Cool. Well, thank you for being here, Renara. Appreciate it.
Oh,
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, Eldurrino. Hey, nice to see you. Hello. Hi.
Good to see you too, my friend.
We'll get to that in a second. Yes.
Eyebrow action there for those that are just listening. Come check out the YouTube video. Hopefully live by the time you're hearing Never mind. Anyways, so over the break, I've been really, really busy. Trying to continue my business going, which has been somewhat successful. I have a new demo reel commission that I have to do, which I think is going to start up again tomorrow. Zamoody, I still owe you a demo reel, my friend.
Let me get better first, and then we'll talk.
Yes, of course. I mean, I could just rewrite all your scripts to people who are ill. Maybe just do like a sickness reel. Is that a thing? This joke is clearly falling flat on its face, so I'm going to move on.
And I will say this again. If that joke hit you, please put it in the comments because we'd love to know who you are.
Fortunately, something really exciting just was announced on Friday, and we can now talk about it, Zamoody and I.
Yes, we can.
Zamoody and I are involved in a DLC, or a creator DLC, for a game called Arma 3, called Spearhead 1944. Is a World War II based DLC. It is super cool. I got to see footage and heard my voice in game, and I am very reserved about it currently, but I'm sure that the shock will set in at some point. So yeah, either way, I mean, it's honestly, and this is going to sound really cheesy, but it is actually a dream come true for me because I've always wanted to be a part of a video game, and now I am. So woohoo!
It's your first one?
It is my first one, indeed.
Nice.
Yes, and to the level that it is, that it's
a good start. Okay,
somebody could kick me in the nuts right now, and I probably wouldn't even feel it.
No, not live.
Meg's behind me saying, like, don't tempt me. What else have I been doing? Really just, I guess, working on music, trying to put myself out there, trying to find more audio jobs, aside from the podcasts that I work on. Well, aside from this podcast and the other ones that I work on.
Yeah.
Although I did get to do a jingle for one of those podcasts, which is really cool because they did like a mock game show, and they basically set it up for me. They said like, "Oh, did you hear that jingle that the editor put in here?" And I'm assuming they were expecting something that's already been made. I was like, I'm making it myself. Fuck it. So I did, and it turned out really well. Come check out our Discord if you want to hear that. I'll post it later.
Yes, please. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I think that's really about it. I wanted to say this real quick, and I'm sorry for taking up so much time, but if you are like me, you are one in possibly 300 people who has not beaten Breath of the Wild, and if you have had the story spoiled for you, you are entitled to compensation. Long story short, I've been trying to beat Breath of the Wild, which I should have done like 3 years ago. The end.
Yeah, that's I haven't finished it either. I keep getting distracted. It's a stupid long game that has a lot of weird
I know
twists and turns.
And I don't want it to stop. Which
Twilight Princess was better.
I don't start that, Renara.
Hey, one of the rules in this show is don't say stuff that's going to piss people off. Come on, Renara.
Sorry.
Anyways, Zamoody, tell us how your break was.
So, I'll do the short version of it. So during the break, my wife went on leave to work. I'll just say work to Pittsburgh. On the way back, many flights canceled, and that's when like everything went to shit, like airplane wise. So for about 36 hours, we were in flux of trying to get her home. And then after that happened, well, my youngest unfortunately landed in the hospital. And that's why we didn't do last week's show. And then I have COVID now.
Oh no.
So it's the trifecta.
I've now infected 3 out of 5 people in this house. Yeah, not including my wife. So far, so interesting. But my youngest and my oldest have both landed in that, and here we are. So unfortunately, I don't have like the the super sicky symptoms. I just have the foggy brain, which I'm going to let Eldurrino take over a lot of duties today because of it. And I'm so tired. I mean, I just I'm sleeping 14 hours a day at least. And then if I'm just down here for the show, and as soon as I'm done, I'm going to go back upstairs and I'm going to lay down. Right. So voice acting wise, outside of what I did for Spearhead, I haven't really done very much else. I have a couple things in the bullpen that I really need to start working on, but at this point, I'm just going to wait till this goes away because, once your voice gets tired, it's just, I can't. It's just there. So, yay. On that positive note, Kayleigh Franklin, thank you again for being here. Let's hear about your week. How has your week been before we get started?
This past week, last weekend, starting at, exactly 7 days ago, had one of our first meetings for my first video game that I'm going to be a part of. So that was cool. Just kind of getting to know the creators, getting to know their vision. It's in the very early stages. But it was a cool conversation to be a part of. I'll be playing one of the leads in that game, so that's a little intimidating. Nice. but we'll see where it goes. And then beyond that, I am a teacher, so I'm on summer break. So most of my days right now are reversed. I record late at night because I can sleep in from 11 till maybe 2 or 3 in the morning, and then I wake up in 1 in the afternoon. So my days are a little reversed right now. So the week is always weird for me right now, just because it is summer break. But I'm working on reversing that schedule again because I do start work in less than 30 days now. So I have to kind of reverse that. Summer is almost over. So yeah, nothing super major to report because it's a pretty bland time of the year for me because it is summer.
Gotcha. So let's get started on your journey. So when did you first get involved with voice acting? So
I got involved January of 2020. My sister-in-law so I'm engaged. So if I say sister-in-law, it's like my future sister-in-law. My sister-in-law in Mexico City. Oh. She is a Portuguese to Spanish translator, and she does not speak English, but she obviously speaks Portuguese and Spanish fluently. And she works for a pharmaceutical company. That's one of her clients. And they needed a North American female voice, and it's pharmaceuticals, so there's a lot of jargon. And she knew that at the time I was a science teacher. I now teach journalism, so a little flip-flop there. But at the time I was a science teacher, and she knew that I could speak the lingo. And she reached out to me, said, hey, I have this job offer. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, I've never done it, but sure. And I actually recorded that on my iPhone with an iPhone headset. I didn't have a mic. I didn't have any editing software. I didn't have a soundproof room. I was sitting in my closet on the floor, kind of speaking into the microphone. And anytime I have 4 dogs and 2 cats. So at the time, if anyone made a sound, I would freeze and then speak again. And because I didn't have editing software, I had to say the passages perfectly because I couldn't go back in and remove mistakes. So it took me a while, but it was a great learning experience. And, it kind of started the whole journey. So the pandemic hit, obviously, and it was a little slow for a while there. And just because I didn't have a demo, I didn't have any gear. I was just doing these projects for this one company. About a year later, 2021, end of 2021, or not end of, I'm thinking end of school year, around March of 2021, when the school year was dying down, I decided that summer I was going to invest in gear, invest in training, and spend some time doing that. So that's when I really got started on that. So all of summer 2021, I spent setting up, we had bought a house, so I set up this room that I'm in as a studio. I set up all my gear. I learned about all the gear. I learned about editing software. I spent all summer watching YouTube videos, going to classes online, like doing everything I could, because I'm a teacher. I know that I can self-teach myself, as much as I can. But at the end of the day, I needed to learn from some pros. So I invested a lot of time into that. And then a year later, the school year is really busy, obviously. So I was doing small projects again for that same company. A year later, I actually quit teaching in May. And I was like, I was pretty fed up with education. So a lot of political problems at one of my schools, and just the attitude of education from both students and teachers and parents, all that. So I was pretty fed up, and I decided to quit teaching full-time and go into voice acting full-time. Well, it did not pan out as quickly as I needed it to for income purposes. So I did go back to teaching in October. But I actually landed in a really great school that my workload is nothing like it used to be. I'm not bringing work home anymore, so I have a lot more time to focus on my business. And since then, in September of last year, August, I did my first audiobook. And then September, I got picked up by one of my really big clients that I do all my educational resources for. And that's just been rolling ever since. And as my resume grew, more work came in, more opportunities came in, all of that. So that's kind of how it unfolded.
Yikes. Everybody always wants to know, because you said you upgraded, from the iPhone. What was the first microphone that you got?
It's so my very first one was a USB mic. I know, but I didn't know anything yet. I don't remember the model, but it was like one I found on Amazon that had somewhat good ratings.
Gotcha.
And when I went to plug it in, it was super quiet, and I couldn't figure out how to increase the volume. I couldn't figure out, I had an Audition at the time, Adobe Audition. I couldn't figure out what to do. Like, my waveform was like this itty bitty little line, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong. And I did some digging on the mic, and a lot of things came through on YouTube and reviews on it that because it's a USB and you can't control the gain, it's not that great. So I got my preamp, got my AT2020, which I record with in the booth.
Yes.
Love it. And I use a Motu M2 preamp. I'm looking to upgrade that in the next year. Couple different models on my mind, but who knows what will be out in the next year. And it's an ever evolving thing.
Absolutely.
But my mic, I really enjoy it. I know a lot of people are like gearheads, and they'll get like 3 or 4 mics that they kind of interchange and work with. And I feel like I found what works for me right now. So, until I really have a reason to upgrade, I'm pretty content with the AT2020.
Yeah, it's a good mic. Absolutely.
Right.
So you did a lot of education on YouTube. Any particular recommendation for somebody who's starting out? Terms that you use, channels that you looked at? Anybody jump out at you?
So I'm probably going to get the name wrong. I want to say his name is Mark Ryder. He does a lot of audition videos, Adobe Audition. And so, real basic, like how to remove background noise, how to remove mouth clicks, how to do noise reduction. Like, I was at the base level, right? Like, I didn't know my ass from my elbow. And it was my starting point. I want to say it was Mark Ryder's channel that really got me started with the knowledge of editing. Regarding like gear and things like that, my coach, Terry Daniel, he has a kind of an offshoot in his company. So like, he's the main person who developed Universal Voice Talent. Universal Voice Talent. Yes. Haven't said that in a while. And within the branches, there's someone with gear, someone with website building, a couple people with voice acting and training, and then logo design and kind of branding, if you will. So when I worked with Jan Anderson within Universal Voice Talent, he taught me everything about soundproofing, everything about microphones, everything about preamps, and they used I was the only person that was using Audition at the time. I believe they all used like Audacity. One person used Reaper, but I use, in my journalism field, I've been the journalism teacher for like 7 years now. So I've always used InDesign and Photoshop. So it was just like, I already have the Creative Cloud. Yeah, I'm going to just go with Audition. And I've learned that from what I've talked to with other people, like at the end of the day, things like Reaper and Audition, they kind of do the same thing, just in a different way. Yeah. So I'm not missing out on opportunities, I don't feel like, but correct me if I'm wrong. So it just kind of evolved in working with my coaches through Universal Voice Talent and taking as much knowledge as I could, watching as much YouTube as I could, and really, being a sponge, if you will.
No, sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. How long did you decide to jump in on the coach? Because you'd already obviously you did the medical jargon stuff. So you started upgrading your equipment. Is that because of your coach, or did you get a coach afterwards?
Yeah. So I got the USB mic and then I was like, this isn't working, and I need more, I want to do more jobs like this. So what do I do? And so I went on LinkedIn and I transformed my LinkedIn to voiceover, and I put the small work that I had done on there, and I just started, excuse me, I started following everyone I could that was voiceover related. Everyone I could. And I was like, they've done audiobooks, they've done narration, they've done animation, they've done all these different things. And so just throwing myself, kind of like we're learning a new language, right? Like full immersion into what are these people posting? What are these people talking about? What forums are they on? How can I learn from these people who are doing this actively, whether it's their part-time side thing or their full-time job, I need
being
to
immersed into the community.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that was when I found Terry Daniel. That was when I found his program. It worked with my budget. And, I'm a teacher.
It's important.
Reality is, so it worked with my budget and it worked with my timeline because you can kind of do it at your own pace. It's not like, we have to have this session this day. We have to have this session this day. It was very much like we can work this Saturday morning and then 2 weeks later we can work Sunday afternoon. And it was with different people. So the scheduling was really nice, things of that nature. And that was when I worked with Jan, that's when I really started learning about gear. And that's when I felt comfortable investing, money, several $100s into gear and into all the parts that come into setting up your booth and soundproofing a room or soundproofing a closet or whatever it may be. Because at the time I was like, well, you find all these YouTube videos about like, use this soundproofing, do this structure, work in this closet, do a whole room, buy a whisper room. You can spend thousands of dollars on all this stuff. But at the end of the day, if you don't have in my opinion, and what I've learned, if you don't have the acting part and the talent part, you can have all the gear in the world, but you have to have that delivery part. And so working with Terry and the different coaches, I worked with Gina Scarpa, and I worked with Garnett. Oh my God, I can't remember his last name. But Garnett was like I consider him like a mentor. He was so insightful. He does a lot of work with Animaniacs, and a lot of animation. And that was where I kind of talked to him and I was like, I know a lot of educational stuff and I know that that's going to be my natural fall in, which it ended up being. But ultimately I want to work in character work. I love animation personally. Like it's my go-to television style. And I've always, I grew up as a Nickelodeon kid, and You've got lots of animation coming at you in my generation. And so it lent itself naturally for me to want to look into that. And Garnett was a really big driving force in developing character voices and working with my range and things of that nature to kind of say, it's not where I'm at right now, but it's where I want to go. So.
Nice.
Did you have any, because a lot of people we've talked to say they have like a theatre background or anything. Did you have anything like that? And how has the process of learning with these people, how's that gone?
Yeah. So I did theater in high school, but I was on the tech side. I did 2 performances or something like that, where I was.
I passed from Eldurrino.
Yeah, I was that guy too. I started on stage and then I was like, this is dumb. I'm going to go work on the lights and sound because that's more fun to me.
Yeah. It was a very small part of my high school career. My high school career was mostly focused on journalism. I was the editor-in-chief of the school paper. I was really big into writing. I would do all the UIL competitions and just, that's where I wanted to be, which is why that's what I teach now. But the public speaking part actually comes from junior high. I was in forensics, which is speech competition. And I did extemporaneous speaking, where you draw a topic, you have 30 minutes to write on it, and then you give a 5-minute speech. And that was, and I actually coach that now. I'm a journalism and debate teacher. And I coach all forms of debate, Lincoln Douglas, extemporaneous speaking, Congress debate, cross-ex debate, all the debates. And so one of my courses that I teach is public speaking. So I've always had, it sounds weird to say, but I've always had a knack for public speaking when it comes to, and just talking in general. I'm a teacher. We talk all day. And it just kind of lent itself to, pacing, especially for students, which is why the educational stuff works really well. Being a teacher, I know what a student who needs a read aloud, what they need, the pacing that they need, the inflection that they need, the intonations. And a lot of what I do with the educational resource stuff will be not only for students who need that read aloud, but also students who are learning the language. So emphasizing certain words, hitting the right pronunciation, all of that comes into play with this. And so that part really lends itself naturally. But regarding the character and animation work, I don't really have a huge background in that. I didn't do the performance side, if you will, on developing characters and things of that nature. I just kind of, I watch a lot of content that's based on that now as an adult. I used to binge Family Guy. Binge it. I've seen from beginning to end probably 3 or 4 times the whole series. Now for the last, I think 2 years, I've been on Bob's Burgers kick every night. That's how I fall asleep. It's my lullaby. And before that, it was South Park. So I have all these and I know it's bad to go to sleep to TV, but I do. And when you hear stuff so much,
you're good.
it's like my lullaby. When you hear stuff so much, you dream it, and so I would hear those voices in my sleep, and I could wake up like I can do a Lois Griffin, I can do a little bit of Cartman. From my childhood, I can do Timmy Turner from Fairly Odd Parents, and I play around with those voices, and that's kind of what is my inspiration for that, because and in addition to that, I'm also a little bit of a gamer. I wouldn't call myself a huge gamer, but I'm into post-apocalyptic. So The Last of Us, Days Gone, all of that is like, oh man. And that's also the fiction that I enjoy. I've read a little over 90 titles in post-apocalyptic genre just for fun. And so I really jive with end of the world type stuff and like the seriousness behind it and like the life or death behind it. And that's another field that I kind of want to explore. So it's like a little bit of character work and a little bit of, end of the world work, which is actually the game that I'm working on is a post-apocalyptic game. So that's really cool.
I had a feeling. I thought so.
Yeah.
Have you played Death Stranding by chance?
I started it, and so I was playing it on PlayStation, and I started it, and I couldn't get into the storyline personally. It just I didn't get very far, and I found it very, and I don't know, this might be a political thing for people. I found it very clunky.
Hot take incoming.
Hot take. I found it very clunky. The movement with the character and, moving around on screen and things like that. It wasn't a natural feeling for me. So I personally didn't like it that much.
Political? What? The game mechanics. I just don't understand. That's interesting. Sorry, I completely forgot now because you mentioned the mechanics portion. Anyways, I completely understand. It took me a while to get into it as well. Mm-hmm. I still recommend it personally, especially if you like post-apocalyptic stuff, because I certainly do myself. It just takes a long time to get there because there's so many like extensive cutscenes and what have you. I also wanted to ask, so I am going to assume that you are a 90s kid, right?
Yeah.
Yay!
Okay. So, with
actually
that being,
turned 30 this month, so literally.
Go figure.
Yeah.
So, since you were a Nickelodeon kid, what voice actors or actresses from like your childhood do you look up to?
Definitely Tara Strong.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm saying that right. I haven't said her name in years.
Yeah.
Tara Strong. She's just so diverse and can do, amazing things with her voice. I'm not recalling her name off the top of my head, but I follow her on Instagram, the voice of Tommy Pickles. She's
goodness.
Yes, okay. I can't remember her name off the top of my head.
Bear with us, she'll look up.
She's another really talented one because it just comes out of her,
E.G. Daily.
Yeah. Yes. And her and Tara work closely together on a lot of stuff. So it's fun I follow both of them on Instagram. So it's fun to, watch them work because they'll post things about them working and things of that nature. And Tara did an interview once where she talked about having to find the character in your mind. And so like when I'm looking at a book, because I do a lot of audiobooks, when I'm looking at a book and I'm reading about a character, I have to think, okay, in my mind, what does that character look like? What do they feel like in this moment? What do they sound like? And how can I make them come to life? And I haven't had a ton of opportunity with animation to really explore that, but with the what's the word I'm looking for? The exposure I've had through audiobooks, I feel like it's given me a good foundation to say, I can pull from this character, and this character in my mind and bring those out. Of course, those are not animated. So when you think of animated, you think like high pitch, or you think like, like all these different voices, that the gravel and the different change in the register, especially with kids stuff. I did a character recently where I was Foxy on an animated TV show, and it's going to be on YouTube, and it's for a children's book. And Foxy talks like this the whole time, and she's very excited about everything. So that was a lot of fun.
She sounds amazing.
Thanks. That was a lot of fun to play around with and explore more. So
nice.
How did you get involved with ACX? I'm curious because you've mentioned that a couple times.
I did a course. So Terry Daniel will host seminars with different professionals, audiobook, animation, video game, commercial, etc. And I did a course through Terry's class over ACX. And I had been curious about it, kind of dipping my toe in that pool. And I didn't know where it was going to take me. And it's a free platform. That was like really attractive to me because a lot of it's pay to play. And at the end of the day, if it's not making you any money, it's not worth it. But ACX was free to join, and I did a class, and I met this audiobook producer, Tom Jordan, and he was so insightful. And I actually got in touch with him, and we did a class together, just one-on-one. I asked him like 60 questions. And Tom Jordan has produced several dozen books on ACX, and he talked about the practicality of producing audiobooks, because it is not a sprint. It is very much a marathon. Yeah. Recording for that length of time, an hour or two a day of just raw audio. And then he outsources now for his editing, which I hope to be there one day. But I edit everything myself. And so I made my profile, and I set up some samples, and an author found me for a self-help book. And it was it was estimated to be 70 minutes. So I was like, oh, that's a small book. I can do it. Let's try it out. It took me, this is embarrassing. It took me 19 hours to produce that audiobook.
That sounds about right.
It was rough because
is that with editing?
That's with editing. Oh yeah. That's with editing.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
So it was, because it was rough because I'd never really edited that much audio. And so going to that distance of, speaking, I could edit an hour. It took me 5 minutes of booth time every hour of editing. And so when you lay that out, it took a really long time. Now I can do about 20 minutes of booth time. I can edit that in an hour. So obviously I've ramped up my editing speed, which is, growth. Yeah, I'm going to take it as that.
Yeah.
But the profile on ACX is actually how I found a couple different jobs, and I didn't even find them. They found me. So it's really wise to go on to Narrator's Roadmap narratorsroadmap.com for anyone who wants to learn about audiobooks and ACX. That's like a whole platform of how-tos. And I followed some of the guidelines there, and I posted a few demos that have special keywords, because when a rights holder goes on to ACX and they want to find a specific type of voice, they filter, whatever they need. And if your demo doesn't have those buzzwords, whether it's your accent that you can do, or the presentation that you're giving, or the title, like one of my titles that I have on there, I believe, is fantasy romance, and then I have mystery romance, and then I have a couple romance things on there, and then mystery thriller. So you have to be like, not title of the book that you did. You need to narrow it down to like, this is the genre of text that I presented. And another thing that helps is frequently updating those samples. So the more frequent, I try to update every 3 months. Some of them are really outdated, but I try to update every 3 months to put new work out there, because you filter to the top of the narrators list. So it kind of pushes you to the top so that you can say, like, I'm the new narrator. Because if it's a new rights holder and they've never been on ACX before, they see your name as some of the top. And that's how you can get grabbed. So that's actually how Think Circa, the company that I work for with my educational resource, that's how they found me. There's another graphic novel book that I'm working with. It's been a little slow going, but I'm working with that. That's how they found me as well, was just searching me on ACX.
Magmorta in chat says really good information here, which I tend to agree.
Yeah, I don't like to gatekeep. I don't believe in that.
I'm sorry, I said them wrong in the short. God, I thought it said Sierra. Sorry, Think Circa. Never mind.
Oh, whoops.
Whoops.
No worries.
Eldurrino, help me out here.
No, I mean, it's fine. I was gonna jump in with saying this sounds like, with how you've described your that experience with the 19 hours and the whole editing, having to edit that amount as well, for a lot of the sort of non-union games that I've been a part of, that is very common, in the sense of you record hours and hours, and then because it's non-union, or it's free, or it's like you're doing it as voluntary or whatever, you have to edit it yourself, and it will take hours, especially if you've got like several thousand lines that you're doing, and then you've got to make several takes of that line. So it's nice to hear that there is more that the crossover with that is what I'm saying in that. Go for it, boys.
Well, so, you know what? Just for that, I have to.
Thank you. First one of series.
There you go.
Nice. That was we made it 45 minutes in. Dang.
I know, right? That's a record for me. Good lord. Well, technically, my intro was one long.
I decided not to play it for the intro. I think intros won't qualify.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because doing audiobooks, you have to be in your booth or in your recording space for extended periods of time, separate from the editing. How in the hell do you do that during the summer? Because it's miserable here, and I'm in Pennsylvania. I know where you're located at, and it's way hotter. So
I'm in Texas. It's hot. Some days, I'll be completely transparent here. It's sports bra and running shorts booth time, because you sweat. You sweat, and in the winter, it gets really cold. Cold is a operative term here, because in Texas, we're used to 100 degree days, and then you throw us in 30 degrees and we're like, oh my God, we don't know how to function. No one knows how to drive either. Well,
that's anywhere, but
but no, it's just being practical with what I wear. Sure. I've found that comfort is key. If I'm not comfortable, I'm going to sound really tense in my recording, and quite frankly, it makes me very bitchy. So my fiance feels the brunt of that, and so I'm like, it's really hot in here. He's like, take a break, and I'm like, I can't, I gotta work, And so I have to be realistic with myself when it is so hot. I use a lot of ceiling fans in between breaks, but obviously, like, the AC has to be off when I'm recording, and it does get pretty toasty. The benefit to being a teacher and being off for summer, I can record, like I said earlier, like, my sleep schedule is totally jacked right now. I can record in the middle of the night, so it's not quite as hot. But if I'm recording during the day, we're near naked. We're doing as best as we can to keep cool.
Right. I was going to say,
some people say it's,
I was say you're very fortunate, because I would like to record at night. I'm very much a night owl myself. However, that's just not a feasibility with having a full-time job and also living in an apartment. So it's just, I've been struggling with that myself. Like, I try not to strip down as much as I can, because I just feel awkward then.
Yeah, you want to be comfortable to your level. Yeah.
Right. And it's just difficult. Like, even a recent job that I had involved me screaming basically at the top of my lungs, which makes me, pretty sweaty pretty fast. And I'm sitting here like 5 minutes in, I'm like, am I done yet? Oh, I've got like 50 more efforts to go. All right, let's get it at it again.
Oh my gosh.
The worst thing though is when you've done a take, but you hear a cloth rustle, or you can hear from when you've moved in the booth, and you can, like, that is in a place that I can't edit that out. So sometimes
it's back in the booth.
Sometimes less is more in the booth, guys.
Yeah. I was gonna say you're making a very strong case for just recording naked, and I'm
some voice actors do that in their own home studio.
Yeah,
and some YouTubers do that for some of their stuff.
I think I'm just gonna take it up. I mean, I got my curtain behind me. No one will see me from the outside.
Hey,
I'm just
I've got my box.
I'm in
there it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
If you made it to this point, comment TMI in the comments, please.
I will also note, if you tell either Renara or Eldurrino hashtag, hey, I'm back, I will pay $20 of whatever services that you are using with them. So,
wow, coupon code.
Yeah, coupon code. With everything that's going on, have you only done one book with ACX, or many books? Or
so I've done one book through ACX, but with my educational resource Think Circa person that I work with, company that I work with, I've done a little under 90 titles.
Wow.
Nice. So those can range from like short passages, maybe like 3,000 words up to 10,000 words. So it just, and which is like a small audiobook. My first book was 10,200 words, I think. So I'm kind of doing that same level of work now, but just much more efficiently because it took time. It took time to learn, and it takes time. So my workflow, I'll typically, like during the school year, for example, I'll come home, I'll do everything with my dogs. I have 4 dogs and now 4 cats. So I do everything with my animals in the afternoon. And then I'm child free right now. But we'll do everything we need to do around the house. And then around 9 o'clock, I'll go into the booth. I'll record for about 2 hours. So it's about 11, still fairly early. Go to bed, wake up next evening, listen to the audio, make any changes I need to do, and then start editing. And that's kind of my that's kind of my workflow for those lengths of books. And I try to knock out the audio in one setting so that my performance is the same for that whole clip. So if I have to record for 45 minutes, it needs to be consistent. So that's what I found works for me. It's different for different people. It also took me a while to get up to that point because my voice had to get used to performing whatever it was I was performing. And eventually you start sounding like this and you're really tired and, you might need a glass of tea or whatever. Fun fact, I have learned that I do not want to gatekeep. If you have a lot of mouth noise, and you're recording and you're like, God bless America, how do I get rid of this noise? Eat an apple. An apple will clear it out. And I love that. I love that little fun fact. And I share it with new voiceover artists and they're like, oh my God, it worked. I'm like, I know, it's great. So
fun fact to add on to that fun fact, the voice actress for Edie on Mass Effect also uses that technique, and she used that technique in a professional studio. So
it works.
If it works for professional studios, it'll work for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
also,
it works.
Another fun fact. This is a sentence.
Oh my God, Eldurrino. Don't mess with the foggy brain host, please.
Paradox.
So what's your plan for 5 years from now?
Well, including life in that. I'm getting married this November. And then
congratulations.
Nice.
Thank you. And then we do plan on starting a family in the next 2 years. That is a goal for both of us, is to be parents. And he's 9 years my senior, so we want to we want to be parents sooner rather than later. Yeah. And with that, I know that professionally in the teaching world, I would like to be a stay-at-home parent. God willing, his career, my career, we can do that. With that in mind, I'm hoping that, my plan is voiceover stays alive. I move through motherhood with that and married life with that. And I get my hands on as many projects as I can and, break into whatever role is fit for me and whatever the universe is aligning with me. I've learned a lot through this voiceover process that, like, for example, I'm on Backstage and people have their opinions about Backstage because it is a pay to play. But I'm on Backstage and I read an article that said, what is the average number of auditions that you have to do before you get your first voiceover job? And it said 200 is the average, 200 auditions for the voice artist to do before they get their first job. I had 197 auditions until I got my first paid job. Wow. And it's about sticking to it, and it's about being realistic with what you can perform, because some of the stuff I would audition for, I knew long term, if it were long character work, I might not be able to uphold that. I might not be able to stay consistent in that performance, but I was trying. You just have to try, you have to put yourself out there. You have to try to expand your horizons. And thinking of that in the next 5 years, I just want to try as much as comes to my way. And wherever it works, it works. And wherever it doesn't, it doesn't. I had to let go a lot of I'm not getting the job, so I'm just going to quit. Or I'm not getting the auditions, so I'm just going to stop, And there's definitely periods of that, as a creative, you get really bummed out. And you're like, God bless, like I can't get any leads? What do I do? And you just have to keep looking for opportunities, keep putting yourself out there and keep trying, but know your worth. Yes. Don't work for free if you can. Don't work for free if you can. Like 100% if you're building your resume.
Oh,
wow.
Hey, I'm getting there. Hey, I've got this is stuff that was already in the pipeline. I am not. Stop.
Anyways,
like if it's a resume builder, I get that, but at the end of the day, it is a business, and you wanna know your worth. So I am keeping all of that in mind, moving forward through this as gracefully as I can, while expecting some major hurdles along the way. Whether that be keeping my job and continuing to do this, whether that be having children or not, whatever that may look like for me, and it's a reality, as a person who wants to be a mother, that is, that's going to be a challenge having young children in the house while recording. A big goal of mine, because I'm getting married this year, funds are pretty tied up. Everything's going to the wedding. Weddings are hella expensive.
Yeah.
But a goal of mine next year, by the end of next December, I would like to have a whisper room and have that fully funded. And business has been good this year, so I could have done it this year, but again, everything is going to this big giant party that we're throwing. It's definitely a big goal of mine professionally, so that it makes home recording a little bit easier. Because while I have a soundproof booth that I've poured my heart and soul into, she's not perfect. Airplanes, cars, barking dogs in the house, you still pick up that stuff, and you just have to be patient. But that is definitely a big goal of mine for the 5-year plan.
Yeah. I feel your pain when it comes to dogs. I feel your pain when it comes to cars. Trust me. Even down here, I'm picking up, because I've got my studio used to be next to a very busy road, and I would be there at 1, 2, 3 in the morning doing those jobs. So I feel your pain. Now that I'm down here, it's not so bad, but I still get them every now and then, especially if I have to turn off my vocal gate. I pick up everything, the dryer going, I pick up the dogs scratching around. Yeah. I feel your pain. And whisper rooms are so nice, but that 4 number 5 now. Yeah. No.
Yeah, they're about 10 grand.
DIY.
DIY. A couple more minutes left in the interview, so I want to make sure that we hit all the important points. If you were able to go back at the very beginning in January 2020 and talk to yourself, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
Try everything. Try to put yourself in situations where, even though you read the audition and you doubt yourself, try it anyway. Give it a shot, because whether you get the job or not, you had that experience of trying that voice. You had the experience of trying that character. Try everything. Don't be afraid of, well, I'm not good enough, or I don't have that character in me, or I can't find that voice inside me. Just try it. Just try it.
Love it. Yeah. Any particular advice that you give somebody reaching out saying, hey, I want to do this fun business thing? What would you tell them?
Try to get some training, whether you do that watching YouTube, whether you go to a pro and you say, hey, I need to do a one-on-one class, or I want to do a group class, whatever it may be. Maybe even consider your local improv theater. I didn't do that, but I know it has worked for a lot of people, to kind of like break into the public speaking part and the creating new characters part. I know that has worked for some people. And just stay open-minded to learning from people. Because if you think you can do it all, you can't. You don't know everything. You have to be a student, and that is hard for some people. Because it's an ego thing. Get past your ego. Recognize that you're at the base level, and just be a sponge and absorb as much knowledge as you can.
Love it. Morning Chat says, "Don't be afraid to try," and I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Final questions, co-hosts.
Do your students know you do voice acting?
Yes, they do.
Have they found your stuff yet?
Because most of my stuff is hidden through the educational resources, no. But because I can do certain voices, they'll ask me to do certain things. So they'll like, read this in Lois Griffin. So I'm like,
Today we're going to be covering Lincoln Douglas debate.
And, I'll throw something in there or if they're not listening to me,
I'll talk like I'm Timmy Turner and I'll get all of their attention really quickly.
And, do different things like that. So it's just, I keep it fun. I teach high school.
Yeah.
It can get really monotonous. And I teach at a college prep campus. So those kids are going through really high level stuff. And so my class is an elective. So I try to keep it as fun as I can.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Bernard, do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay. So first off, I have to make one comment about your trying thing. I think, given that you are also a Star Wars fanatic, Yoda would certainly disagree with you.
Wow.
So, if I may, I'd like to nerd out with you for a brief moment, given, nice little segue from Star Wars. So I saw on your LinkedIn that you offer like sound design services as well, or other audio engineering. So what does that entail?
So I have worked with a couple artists making demos for them. My fiance is a filmmaker, so he can do script writing, and then we'll put together, the actual audio. And I have people come to my house and do it. It's just easier. I do local work. So they'll come in, they'll record in the booth, and I'll edit everything for them and put it together. And whether that be, I've actually helped someone with a commercial before. That was a lot of fun. And just helping people with auditions and recording for them, and also showing them the ropes, because what I've learned is a lot of people in the sound world, they don't edit their own stuff. They'll, record it for films, or they'll record it for an audition, and then they just kind of send it out raw. And I am a big proponent of send out your best quality if you can. Learn how to edit your stuff. Learn, you might not be able to afford outsourcing editing yet. So learn how to edit your own stuff professionally, so that what you're sending to your audition, what you're sending as your sample, is highest quality. Because if you send an audition, or you send something in and you're like, oh, well, there's a little bit of background noise, or you can hear someone next door, like it's not gonna work. So for me, helping people out with the sound editing part and putting background music if we need it, or putting a watermark if we need it. That's one thing too. If you think you're reading a whole script for something, if you look at an audition and it's like, this looks like the entire script, put a watermark on it, or a soft background tone on it to protect your voice, so that they can't just take your work and not pay you. Little tip there that I learned. So it, I just pass that along if I can. But regarding the sound engineering stuff, yeah, that's the extent of what I do, is just producing demos for people and editing their work if I need to.
Very cool. I would agree with you in regards to when it comes to auditioning. Certainly send the best quality possible. I can't agree with if you're already working a job to do the same, because a lot of people, especially if they have an audio engineer, they want it completely raw, because they will then take over.
Every client's going to be different in that regard. Yeah.
Right. Which then leads me to my last and final. Wow. My next and final question. What is your favorite pizza topping?
Pineapple and pepperoni.
Yeah. Ooh, pepperoni's an interesting little twist. I like it.
It's a sweet, salty.
Greetings, fellow travelers. And
sorry. I was trying to turn on the music. I apologize. No, please let me. I mean, pepperoni is interesting with pineapple. I'm gonna have to try that out.
Sweet, salty balance.
Yeah. I like this.
No. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. As Renara is disgustingly saying no, we will start our goodbyes for the day. Sweet and spicy. Yes. Thank you, Megmorta, again. Kayleigh, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time. It was great getting to know you. I didn't say this at the beginning, so I apologize. If you have any audio, anything you'd like us to listen to, please come on into our Discord. Link is going to be in the description. Just drop it in. We'd love to hear it. If you're shy and you don't want to talk to us, you can email us at ColdReadthePodcast@gmail.com. Again, ColdReadthePodcast@gmail.com. And send us your audio, anything you're working on. If you're working on a demo, if you got an audition, something you want constructive feedback. And I stress the word constructive because We are here to help. We have done it for each other. We have grown because of it. Please don't be afraid. Next intro is going to be Eldurrino.
That's me.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing what you can come up with.
I think I want to switch it up. I think I'm tired of giving advice. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
Jeez.
No, I don't know. It'll probably be more of the same, but we'll see.
Next week for sure, we will be on our permanent channel on YouTube, Cold Read the Podcast. So come on over. The recording will still be there available. We don't need to wait as long as we need to, but I think we'll still aim for 1:30 Monday morning. And if anybody wants to tune in and either listen to it, it'll be available anywhere you get your podcasts, or if you want to come watch the video, which we always absolutely appreciate, just go ahead and drop a comment in there. If you can leave a like or a sub, we would 100% appreciate it.
Yeah.
So again, thank you everybody. Here's to a whole new season 6. Yes, bravo, and let's hope.
Got one more season and then a movie.
Yeah. Wow, call back. With that said and done, we will catch you all absolutely next time. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Remember to drink water.
There it is.
Yes.